Today we've got an awesome topic to talk with you about. This is why Andor is so much better than Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let's get into this and let's talk about it. So this question has pervaded the internet.
Yes.
And I say that loosely. It hasn't, because Andor hasn't gotten as much coverage as Obi-Wan has. It's not gotten quite as much hype. People weren't watching it. And I think a lot of that is due to the time it was released, the things that have come before it, and how people are feeling about Star Wars in general. But it is my personal belief, and I think the belief of Joe, who is over there behind the camera.
I think it is. What is your belief?
That Andor is a much better show than Obi-Wan.
Oh, yeah.
It's and we're just going to talk about that. We're going to get into some points. And I think the first one, and I think a very important one, both shows are named after their main character, Andor and Kenobi.
Yes.
So your main character is the most important part of your show. In Obi-Wan Kenobi, we see a character who doesn't act like himself.
Yes.
Right? We see a character who looks like Obi-Wan Kenobi, the one that we know from the prequels, but he acts extremely different. He doesn't follow any of the logic that we're used to with Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Who is very clever, who's very resourceful, who can be brutal and violent when necessary, who is extremely intelligent when it comes to kind of the somewhat detective work, I guess, that Jedi do on a regular basis.
Yes.
And he's just very much not that character in the show. He's like, it's like, oh, I'm having trouble with the Force. I can't use the Force. So basically, I'm useless now. I make stupid decisions. I say stupid things. I can't catch little girls who are running through crowds. Basically, a completely different character. Contrasted with Andor, who acts exactly like we would expect. What we see of him in Rogue One is the same character that we see, slightly different, obviously, because this is happening before Rogue One, but he is the same character who we would expect. He is very much a survivor, right? He is tries not to be super confrontational, but when it comes down to it, he's ruthless as well.
Yeah.
He won't hesitate to shoot you, and make sure you're dead if that's what the situation requires. We know that about his character from the previous movie, and seeing that in this show is consistent.
And honestly, it's one of my favorite things about the show. I love that this doesn't feel like it's made for kids. This feels like it is something that people in their mid-20s, in their 30s, and their 40s can resonate with without having to tap into that old Star Wars nostalgia too much.
I would agree. And, Andor as a character is pretty... I don't know. He's not super engaging, I consider, on screen as compared to many other actors. Ewan McGregor is an extremely engaging actor when he's on screen.
Yeah.
But the character works the way we expect him to, and that's super important to making your show work. Is to have your main character be who they are. The next point I kind of want to bring up is the episodes, while they can be slow and, while they're setting things up, they tend to lead to a satisfying conclusion. We see that the story is kind of taking this 3-episode arc kind of idea with the show, where they set up something in one episode, they elaborate on it in the second, and then there's kind of a climax in the third. And they've done this 3 separate times throughout the show, and I believe there's one more
episode.
Is there only one more episode?
I believe this is a 12 a 12 episode season, and yesterday, for when we're recording this, was episode 11.
I figured after watching episode 11, I was like, oh, they're definitely going to do another 3-episode arc to kind of finish this show off.
I don't know. I feel like
I don't know.
Wanting more episodes after 11 and 12 is getting kind of greedy there, Wyatt.
Well, I just kind of want them to wrap up. They've put a lot on the table with the show. They have complex narratives, which is great. I like a show that takes a little bit of thinking to follow, but it's also not hard to follow. It's not difficult to understand the concepts. You know the motivations of the characters. You know what the Empire wants, what the ISB agents want. Andor, it's clear that he just wants to survive. He just wants to live a better life. You know, we kind of know where everybody is. Yeah. So while the narratives are complex, they're also fairly simple to follow. Yeah. Did you get that from the show? Did you feel that?
Yeah, I what's different in this that we're seeing that's different in my mind to Star Wars is that we're getting kind of this many character Game of Thrones style show, which is there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of people's thoughts and emotions moving through this story. We're following one similarly to how we kind of followed Daenerys through Game of Thrones, but with this show we're following Cassian, but there are honestly extremely engaging characters like Luthen especially, you know, and then I can't remember his name, but the fellow that Andy Serkis plays, even though we only saw him for like 3 episodes. What was that?
Kino Loy is his name. In contrast to Obi-Wan Kenobi, the plot lines, the narratives, everything in Kenobi was very I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here. It's not childish.
Adolescent?
Adolescent. Yeah. Yeah, it's not child, it's adolescent. They felt very plain, very simple and straightforward so that anybody could watch it, and it wasn't compelling. Yeah. Your story has to be compelling. Your plot lines have to make sense, right? The Obi-Wan Kenobi plot lines, it seems like Leia is a MacGuffin, and they introduce, you know, other characters that just want to get whatever information that she has to find rebels. You know, it's very simple, and it didn't work. Yes. You know, as opposed to this show, which is doing a bunch of different things, and it's doing most of them pretty well. Yeah. With a lot of characters. With a lot of characters. with more characters than I actually thought were going to be in the show. Yeah. So moving on, I have here where Kenobi failed in its presentation of Star Wars visuals. Okay. Andor consistently displays the beauty and wonder of the world it's in and the various locations thereof. Yes. Right? So Obi-Wan Kenobi, we saw Tatooine, which seems to be a trend in Disney Star Wars. Yeah. We saw
never-ending narrative on Tatooine.
We saw another planet at night, kind of neo-Japanese style city. Yeah. We saw a water planet with the Inquisitor base. And we saw some other locations, and they all felt very much on the volume. We know that the volume has been used quite a bit. Yeah. All of these locations, you feel the volume. Yes. You don't feel, it doesn't feel real. Whereas in Andor, we see him and another character climbing up a mountain. Yeah. We get, you know, shots going around the mountain. They are on a mountain, a real one. Yeah. You know?
They're there.
And there are shots of this show that they are not in a real location. But for the most part, the show feels very real. It's very visually stimulating. all of the epic visual shots feel really good. There's a few minor complaints I have about some of the visual stuff. I think there's way too many humans in the show.
Way too many humans. We need more aliens. And less humans?
I want more alien species. Right? We get so many of them in every other Star Wars thing ever. I'd like a few more alien species, just like, I don't know, doing important things. I would have liked to see a few in the prison, to be honest. That would have been a perfect place.
I didn't even realize there's none in the prison.
Because they're all around this table constructing something.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it have been great if that diverse cast of characters is around that table, if like 2 or 3 of them were, one's a Twi'lek and one's whatever Greedo's species is, and, you know?
I mean, we saw other aliens getting arrested.
Yeah, you see the aliens, but they're all background. There's
I wonder
no
if they,
main alien characters.
Because there were so many prison encampments in the water that they built, I wonder if they segregate them.
That could be, yeah, they separate the humans from the aliens. But also in our main cast, there's no alien species.
That's true.
Right?
They're all humans.
You know, even in Kenobi, there weren't enough, in my opinion, other species of, characters.
Mm-hmm.
But the show in and of itself is just very beautiful. The visuals are incredible, which is absolutely what I expected from this show coming off of Rogue One.
Yeah.
Because this show was really supposed to come out much closer to when that movie came out. And the visuals in Rogue One are, just as expected, immaculate.
Yeah.
Greg Fraser. You can't go wrong, right?
I agree wholeheartedly. That moment where the Death Star is just turning and almost looking at him face to face right before it zaps is an iconic moment.
Oh, when the Death Star covers the sun over that one city?
Yeah.
Dude, the visuals in Rogue One are insane.
And
say what you will about the story and everything, visuals were beautiful.
And likewise, Andor holds up. It really does.
Yeah.
Now, when I saw the trailer, I had a visceral reaction to one of the animated ships.
You did.
And it was disgusting.
We were like, JPEG, that's a PNG, that's a PNG.
I was really worried about this show.
Yeah.
But once we get into it, they must have done some extra work because it looks a lot better than the trailer did.
Especially coming off of Obi-Wan when we saw a snow speeder just stop in the air.
Yeah.
Which that took me out of the show completely. I just stopped. I was like, whoa, seeing that is not something I should be seeing. I can see a TIE fighter hovering, right?
Yeah.
I can see an X-Wing hovering. Seeing the snow speeder just stop, right?
Yeah.
It just, it messed me up visually.
Yeah, with good reason.
I think moving on, a very important distinction between these two shows is the acting from every character on screen. It never deviates from the tone of the show. That their acting never gets overly goofy in the in the cheesy Star Wars way we expect. In what we see, especially in Mandalorian, which we expect to see it there because Mandalorian is more spaghetti western.
Yeah,
it's more old style Star Wars, so you expect a little bit of that cheese, and we like it. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
it
it has its place.
It does have its place for a show like that. But the characters are doing such a great job in this show. And, all the acting is believable. It all feels very real.
Absolutely.
Very well done. The side characters, if you can call them side characters, everybody who's not Andor.
Yeah.
Are they're really good.
Yeah.
Luthen.
Yeah.
Is played by Stellan Skarsgård.
Just shining.
Good grief. I mean, he brings such a performance. He brings such a presence to the screen. Every time he's on it, you can see in micro expressions what he's feeling. There was that one scene we talked about where he goes into the little room and he puts on his robes.
Yeah.
And he's just like
his ring,
straight faced, and he puts on his ring, and then he just goes, and he becomes somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, the scene in the episode recently where he confronts one of his spies.
Yeah.
You know, the door opens in the elevator and he's standing there on a platform.
Yeah.
That was ominous.
It was.
That was dark because he is trying to bring down an empire, and he will do whatever he has to make that happen.
Yeah.
Even if the things that he's doing are dark, even if he's sacrificing his soul.
Also, what a monologue.
Incredible.
I have not seen a written monologue like that in a minute in movies, and it was beautiful.
It was really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. What's her name?
Bix?
Not Bix. I like Bix.
ISB lady?
No, red hair from the original movies. Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma is a good character as well. Like, it's very political. It's very she's that character who is trapped. Mm-hmm. Everybody around her is trying to destroy things politically, get what they want out of the empire or out of their, you know, the system where their planet resides, and she is trying to provide information to a rebellion while also maintaining this disguise. Mm-hmm. And also juggling, you know, her family, her money. It's every time she's on screen, I feel tense.
Yeah.
I feel stressed.
Yeah.
You know? And she does a very good job of making you feel the emotions that she's feeling. Bix is really good. Kino Loy, who's only been in the show for 3 episodes, Andy Serkis. Mm-hmm. Good grief.
Just out of control. 3
episodes, and this man is, I mean, the show, you know, essentially he just stole the show.
Just out of nowhere. As soon as I saw his face, as soon as I saw him in the prison, I'm like, oh, it's Andy. And he's entered the building.
And then when he's given his speech in the episode, and Cassian is there, he's like, you have to tell them. You know, you have to be the one, right? To bring the people together. That was a real moment for Cassian. I think one of his best moments is when he's trying to help Kino Loy. And Andy Serkis just delivers this inspiring rally to the prisoners.
Yeah.
So good. It was the show is like, I made a joke when I first started watching it. It should have been called Luthen. I'm thinking now it should be called Kino Loy.
Yeah.
The side characters are really stealing the show from me from Cassian Andor.
Honestly, Luthen and Kino are going to have to duke it out to see who's the best character.
The best? Both of them. I mean, but when you bring actors like this onto a set, and when you give them these characters and these roles, of course, they're going to excel. Mm-hmm. The gentleman who plays Cassian Andor seems like a very good-natured, good-hearted man. I noticed he was really appreciating a lot of the fans, the ones who watched the show and have enjoyed the show and reacted positively.
We always love to see that.
You love to see it. Mm-hmm. You like to see the people who were involved in making the show thanking the fans and appreciating the good stuff.
Hard contrast with calling them racist.
Oh yeah, big no from Kenobi, and some bits I think from Andor. I think there have been some issues, but not as many. Mm-hmm. Let's see, what do I have left here in my points? Just briefly, we can touch on references to the larger Star Wars universe. They're small, but important. You know, they never feel overt. They never feel like they're shoving it in your face.
Yeah.
You'll notice a lot in Luthen's antique store that he has a lot of memorabilia. You'll notice if you'll notice some deep lore things from like Star Wars Legends stuff.
Yeah.
You'll notice Mandalorian armor, like pieces of lightsabers, maybe whole lightsabers, quite a few different artifacts, maybe some Sith artifacts. Did you see the headpiece in the most recent episode?
I don't know. Was it the one with the?
No, he was dusting off a headpiece, and it was like croissant shaped. It was.
I'm gonna be honest. I missed it.
It was the same kind of headpiece that Padme was wearing in Attack of the Clones.
No way.
I was looking. I was like, that's a nice detail.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
it's something from Naboo. Something perhaps a senator or a member of the royalty would wear. Those kinds of references are very nice. Without it being like, here's a Star Wars thing. Look at this Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
And
I really enjoy personally that they are not relying too heavily on established canon. Kenobi relied so heavily, and in some ways rightly so, on bringing, Darth Vader into the story, Anakin. Mm-hmm. Characters we've seen over and over again.
Yeah, Inquisitors
and the Emperor and everything. They mention the Emperor in this, but more than anything else, it's about the people versus the Empire control without all of the baggage of Darth Vader, the Jedi, all of that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the source of the problem, but ultimately, how is it affecting the people?
Right. And plus, these are things that you want to see handled a certain way.
Yeah.
We saw in Obi-Wan Kenobi, which things just never felt like they were handled correctly. Mm-hmm. Even the fight scenes felt wrong.
Yeah.
The way Obi-Wan fights the Inquisitors feels so wrong. Yeah. I mean, did you watch the Tales of the Jedi?
Only the first one with you.
So I think it's maybe the last episode. It's got Ahsoka.
Yeah.
She's on the run. She's hiding out in a village. And an Inquisitor comes. Somebody tips off an Inquisitor who comes. He's just awesome, wearing a mask, dark robe, pulls out the lightsaber, two sides, very ominous. She doesn't have a lightsaber.
Okay.
And she walks up. He swings at her. She dodges. She disarms him and kills him like that. And I was like, man, couldn't Obi-Wan Kenobi have done that to those puny Inquisitors? That's what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, references are good in small doses, and the show doesn't rely on those to be a good show.
I want to hear your final thoughts. What is it you personally, in like just a few words, why is Andor working so much better than Kenobi, even though they are the back-to-back Star Wars shows?
It's really about the creation of it. Andor feels well thought out. It feels thoroughly crafted. It feels like they are taking established things and building on them without the need of, like we mentioned, all of the other Star Wars stuff. We're seeing different planets. We're seeing different people. We're seeing different ecosystems, political systems, socioeconomic systems, and it works. It feels like something that should be in Star Wars, except for the AK-47. I'm going to mention it every time. It shouldn't have been in there. But no, the show feels well made. It feels like the people who were making it had a passion for this story, which is good. Kenobi feels like a dumpster fire of bad ideas that was thrown together to make profit off of essentially a meme.
Interesting.
Not a negative meme, but the meme of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
The hello there.
Yeah. So Obi-Wan kind of became a meme after the prequels as meme culture developed. And then seeing him everywhere, people remembered their appreciation for the character.
Yeah.
And he has just become a beloved character in recent years.
Yes.
And, because on screen he has that presence. It's wonderful to watch. His acting is incredible. And so they took that name and they tried to make money from it. And it's just bad idea after bad idea, poorly executed. Whereas Andor feels like a show that shouldn't work.
Yeah.
But does. And it's a show that should have come out 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Should have come out maybe 2 years ago. Right off of the release, or not 2 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. When did Rogue One come out?
About 4 years ago.
It should have come out like a year after Rogue One. The part of the reason for this show not doing so well is because public perception of Star Wars has decreased, especially with Disney Star Wars. And so this show is not receiving its due. It's not receiving what it deserves for how well it's put together. There are some issues with the show. There's some commentary issues. There's some narrative issues. There's political identity issues that are thrown in there. Overall, the show is well crafted. It's enjoyable. But, it's wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah.
But it is a better show than Kenobi. And if you want Star Wars, especially before The Mandalorian comes out, check out Andor.
Yeah.
Get into it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it for what it is.
I'm hearing a lot of people talking about how it's slow at the beginning. And if you can just push past a little bit of slow, a little bit of getting to know new characters or having to re-get to know ones we saw in Rogue One, if you're a Star Wars lover, you will enjoy it.
Yeah.
If you love story and craft and storytelling and brilliant acting and you love the Star Wars universe, you're gonna like Andor. There's no way around it. You're just gonna like it, in my opinion. So yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with what Wyatt has to say. I agree with why he says it's better than Kenobi, and I think you should definitely watch it.
Yeah.
Everybody should enjoy the crap out of Andor.
And if you guys like this kind of content and you want to see more, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're growing and we need more growth. We need more subscribers, and we'd love to have you guys come along this journey with us. Get in here early, and make sure to check out our Patreon, Wiseworks Patreon. We have a link down in the description. We have exclusive content, commentaries. We delve into some reviews and things.
Oh yeah.
Early access to our podcast. So check it out, and we'll see you next time.